This is the SketchUp model I created for the plans for Michael Robbins' Contemporary Desk, which is featured in the current issue of Fine Woodworking magazine. This morning I had an email from somebody asking how I created the curved component for the leather on the top, and I thought this would be a good thing to show for the blog. So let's take a look. I'm going to just basically recreate that, and the way I did that was starting with the base for the blotter. So this component represents the substrate for the leather, and I opened that for editing and I copied out. It doesn't matter, you can draw the rectangle manually, but I just copied it out of the component and used paste in place, for which I have a keyboard shortcut. And so now this is outside of that component. And then I used push-pull, and I just gave it a little bit of thickness. And the leather's not very thick, so I think I went about a 32nd of an inch or so. And then, just to make sure I didn't have any issues with it combining with any other geometry, there isn't any at the moment, but I went ahead and made it a component. I'm not going to give it a name in this case since I already have the leather component. And then I decided where I wanted to start the curve, and I set a guideline. I'm just making this one arbitrary here, and I'm going to bring this up. I use 60 degrees. You could use whatever you want. Actually, we'll just make a copy of that. I'm going to put that back a little bit farther so I get that other corner included, and then I'm going to erase this. Alright, and so now I've opened the component for editing. I'm going to select the geometry, and I'm going to use the radial bend from Freddo's scale. And I'll click on that, and it doesn't really matter where we set this along this line, but we want to use that line as the center of our, or the start of our rotation. Before I set that, I'm going to hit the Tab key. I'm going to change the number of slices to 12. That's just going to create the number of faces. And then I'll hit that. Now, I'll hold the left mouse button down while I drag the cursor along the guideline, and that aligns the tool. Then I'll let go and I'll click on that corner and then click, and I'll bring that up while I'm holding the mouse, and that's all there is to creating that bend. We can get rid of our guideline, and now you can see that I have that. That could be a useful trick for a lot of things. In this case, just to show that there's something flexible glued down onto the surface. It'd be difficult otherwise to represent that. And you could probably find other applications for that. So if you don't already have the Freddo scale extension installed, I would suggest that you get that. I'll post a link to it in the blog post, and happy bending.